Welcome back. It is week 10 of our Romans studies, and we are in Romans chapter 13, verses 8 through 10. We'll spend our last 2 weeks here in Romans chapter 13. You are not going to want to miss it. So go ahead and read Romans 13, 8 through 10, and then come on back, and we will talk more about it together. Let's go. We are talking about love again this week, and the Apostle Paul opens with a zinger. He says, "Let no debt remain outstanding except the continual debt to love one another." This is a powerful statement. Paul's saying, look, you can pay everything else off in your life. Every other responsibility you can finish off, but there is no finishing to loving one another. It will go on forever and ever. We are called to be people that continually renew our love for one another. We are in debt to one another, and love is the only way that we can pay for it. But why does Paul come out so strong for love? Why is he saying love is so important? And he makes the case that love is so important because you can fulfill all of the laws of Moses if you simply love your neighbor as yourself. Paul points out logically, look, you won't commit adultery if you love your neighbor. You won't steal if you love your neighbor. You won't covet if you love your neighbor. Love is the fulfillment of the law, in Paul's words. If you love one another, every other aspect of life falls into place. If you love one another, you have found the central piece of God's law, and you can live a life pleasing to God. But of course, it's difficult to love one another. There's plenty of things that get in the way. There's plenty of things that people do that make this difficult. But Paul's saying, look, love is the thing that makes it worth it. Loving one another is the thing that brings us closer to God. So as we approach this week with the students, hit home on this point that love is the thing that makes following God possible. That love is the thing that makes following Jesus possible, and encourage them once again to say, how can I go out into my world and pay off the debt of love I owe those around me? Love has been the theme this past 2 weeks, and it's been exciting talking together and working through this with you. We've got one more week to go, and I am looking forward to it and looking forward to hear how teaching went this week. We will see you next week to wrap up our series on Romans.